What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of Shoots with Coops, and today we are talking about crap cheap SLR cameras and how you can use them to take some of the most high quality 35mm images that you can. Alright guys, the cheap, the basic, the ever abundant SLR. Now we're talking about newer ones. I'm talking about newer SLRs that have autofocus. For instance, this is my Nikon F80 here, but it's not just mainly Nikon. The two brands I'm going to be focusing on are Nikon and Canon, mostly because I think more people shoot those cameras in the digital aspect. You've got a lot of digital shooters who shoot Nikon and shoot Canon, but the lenses, there is an abundance of Nikon and Canon lenses out there more than any other brand. You'll find the most on the second-hand market as well, trying to save some money. So I want to talk about this camera today, not the Nikon specific, but SLR film bodies. So guys, as you're probably undoubtedly aware that film to film, camera to camera, the camera does not matter. It doesn't matter which camera you use. If I put HP5 in my Nikon F60 here, and then I put another roll of HP5 in my Leica M6, the camera itself is not doing anything to differentiate and take better pictures. Obviously, it's the lenses, as we know. So a really good quality lens has to be probably your first thought when it comes to shooting film. A film body doesn't really matter. You want to get your hands on a good quality lens. Now, the reason I think that these old and very, very cheap film SLRs are a great buy. This F80 cost me $50. 50 Australian dollars, so that's probably 25 American or 25 euros, practically nothing. The guy even threw in a free roll of Portra 400 with the camera as well. But the cameras are cheap and they're everywhere. Things like this are what you find at op shops. You find old film SLRs. A lot of the really good quality old stuff is long gone or long broken, but a lot of people just clearing out their closets, they probably have one of these lying around, and you'll get one of these for absolutely nothing at a thrift store or an op shop. But the reason why these cameras are great is the lenses that you can put on them. So this F80, guys, this is a baby brother to the very, very popular and famous Nikon F100, which, I was looking at purchasing one of those, but, I managed to find this for, cheapest F100 I could find was about $250, and I got this for $50. So I say $200. Absolute win. Essentially does the exact same thing. It's got the same amount of autofocus points, same max shutter speed. The only real difference is that the F100 has weather sealing, and it's not an entry camera, so this one does actually have a built-in pop-up flash, whereas the F100 was more of a prosumer one and it didn't come with that. But I digress, guys. I'm talking about lenses. Now, this lens here, the ever famous Nikon 50mm 1.8G. This is probably one of the more nifty 50s out there from any camera company. This lens is fantastic. Most people probably would have shot this on a digital camera, and it's a fantastic lens. It's extremely sharp, it's extremely fast. The autofocus, the motor is dead silent. It's a fantastic lens, which is why these cameras are such a good buy, okay? Because a lot of these cameras, especially these modern autofocus film SLRs, they will let you mount and use with autofocus and correct metering all your modern glass. So in this case, all the modern G series lenses from Nikon, all of them will work, meter. I could grab the most recent 24 to 70 2.8, the VR one, which is what, $2,500 lens. I could smack this on this and it would meter correctly, the autofocus would work fantastically. And like I said, when you get down to it, guys, the lenses are what are gonna give you amazing results. So we're gonna cut in for a brief moment here, and I'm gonna show you some of the really, really fantastic images that I have taken with this F80 and this 51.8G. Guys, not to hype on about Nikon, but just quickly, when I'm talking about these modern cameras, I mean there's the N80, N90, N90X, F100, F80, F60. There are so many different models. But the same holds true for Canon and Canon users. Got the really, really high quality ones like the EOS 1V, there's an EOS 33, and then you've got all these other base models that all can be used, especially with that legendary Canon L glass. So all those red ring lenses that are really fantastic. And there is a lot of Canon shooters out there. You know, the 5D series is one of the more popular ones. So any of those fantastic lenses that you might have in your Canon arsenal can all be mounted onto the more modern film Canon SLRs. Like I said, guys, it's all about the lens. You can have the crappiest camera in the world. You put a wicked lens on it, you're gonna get amazing photos. Likewise, you could have the best camera in the world with the worst lens, and it's gonna have a crappy looking image. Things are gonna be soft, they're not gonna be sharp, colors and contrast aren't gonna look fantastic. So I really think that instead of wasting all your money on a real fancy point and shoot like the Contax T2, T3, or everything that is hipster now and in fashion, you could save so much more money. Essentially here, I've spent $50 on the Nikon F80. All right, and then I managed to pick up a 51.8G because I don't have any more modern Nikon lenses anymore. I got rid of my Nikon kit years ago, but I managed to pick this up for $180. All right, so that puts me at $240. So for $240, I've got an extremely capable bit of film kit. Metering's fantastic. I've got really fast autofocus when you use any modern lens. Autofocus is great. Matrix metering, all that fancy stuff that they started to come out with. And it really makes for a really, essentially, especially these cameras, aperture priority program mode. There's your point and shoot. Just here. And it's going to take better photos, better quality photos than, most point and shoots you're going to find. Unless you've got a really, well, I shouldn't say really good lens because there are a lot of point and shoots with great lenses, but essentially most of them cap out at f2.8. Obviously, I've got an f1.8 lens on here, and you probably, if you had, be able to find a 1.4, 51.4, 35.1.4 Canon or Nikon if you had the extra money. But what it does also open you up to are the third-party lenses. So we all know that Sigma have some amazing art series lenses for Nikon and Canon. That 51.4 art series is a beautiful lens. I could whack that straight onto this camera. It would meter, it would autofocus, and it would produce some amazingly sharp negatives. So next time you think about buying a really expensive camera, just think to yourself, if I get myself an old film SLR, do I have any, good digital glass lying around? I might have some Nikon lenses, might have some Canon lenses. I could buy a really cheap, very cheap film SLR, put my amazing, thousands of dollars worth of glass on that film SLR and get better results than someone shooting with, with a point and shoot or shooting, with a crappy ass film camera. You know what I mean? Any of that modern glass is going to be sharper. It's going to have better coatings. It's going to usually perform better than most of the vintage stuff out there. So you can save yourself some money, have yourself a wicked good time for cheap, and get some amazingly high quality photos, all on a very small budget. So thanks for watching this episode of Shoots with Coops, guys. Happy shooting. I'll see you in the next one.